Folks, this is live TV. Nobody's told us we're live. Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching us locally here in Bethel Park on Comcast 7, also on Verizon 32 in Bethel Park and everywhere. This is a TV show for anybody that might watch us on YouTube. Somehow they're confused on Pittsburgh Sportsline TV at BPTV is on the radio. We're looking into a radio show, but not at this point in time. And then thanks for all the likes on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook. We had a new high of 3,240. So thank you to everybody for doing that, and we appreciate it, and we'll like you back like we just recently did. And you can keep that pen, that was just here. And I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner, Zach Brenner, Little Z, renamed Big Z. We'll get into that later on. And if you go to the last seat there, it's empty. We've had a lot of rain in Pittsburgh, and Smoking Jim does have a far way to travel, so he's running a little bit late.
You mean Mr. Magoo?
Well, Chip, I just wish you'd write out some alternative routes for him. Well, maybe not, but can you call him up and tell him the routes?
I would if he'd ever answer his phone.
He does have a text-only phone.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
And I was doing a little bit of this conversation, hopefully run right in the door, and maybe he'll be here soon. Well, if not, we're going to do what we usually do, what's on our mind, and we're going to start that right now. Zach Brenner, what's on your mind?
Well, Al Levine, the talking machine. I hate to start the show off on a sour note, but 2 days ago, the world lost a great woman to breast cancer. Grandma Toni Vitonian passed away at the young age of 54, and I just wanted to highlight the battle of cancer and shout out to all the survivors out there who are getting better and trying to fight this bad disease. So I hate to, like I said, I hate to start off the show on a sad note, but just wanted to send my thoughts and prayers out to the Vitonians.
We'll take a little pause and say a little prayer and a moment of silence for her.
Too many people die too young from cancer.
And thank you for bearing with us on this, and we hope everybody beats the dreaded disease of cancer, no matter what type it is. And may she rest in peace.
Thank you. Now to another tragedy that happened Saturday night in upstate New York. NASCAR driver and champion Tony Stewart accidentally hit and killed driver Kevin Ward Jr. When Kevin Ward Jr. was spun out near the end of the race, he got out of his car and tried to confront Tony Stewart on the track and was accidentally clipped by Stewart. As it stands right now, no criminal charges have been pressed or are going to be pressed against Tony Stewart for the simple fact that it's dark and you can barely even see the kid, and three other drivers, nearly almost hit him or whatever. So to highlight a point in NASCAR, though, this was not in NASCAR. This was in a dirt track race where the purse maybe only been $3,000. Tony Stewart is used to racing for millions of dollars on Sundays in the big circuit NASCAR. So what Tony Stewart's doing driving, in those little circuits or whatever is beyond me, but maybe this might be a wake-up call to future, drivers and NASCAR drivers that, is it really worth the risk of risking the more important career for these little dirt track victories? And a man tragically lost his life. So I'd like to, have another moment of silence for Kevin Ward Jr. and his family. And the final thing that's on my mind this Tuesday evening, folks, is if you haven't done so yet, please go on to Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook and go to Still Nation Boxing and go check out my first ever article that I ever published or wrote since high school. And that's what's on my mind, folks.
Thanks, Zach.
Good job, Zach.
And you stole a couple things I wanted to talk about, so especially we'll revisit that part because one of the points, there are some important points about the circuit for a few $1,000s that Tony Stewart feels like racing, and I'll bring those points up after that. Some of them are known and not so known. Yeah, on the revisitation. But thanks for bringing up those things. Chip the Prophet Hayner, what's on your mind?
Well, I'll tell you what, can't say that I'm baseballed out, but 5 games in 6 days down at PNC Park. Buccos were 4-1 in the games I went to go see. So they're doing real well, and I hope we get into some Bucco talk a little later on in the episode. But what's really on my mind, and I was just was driving around today and in my travels, and I was thinking about several different things sports related, and I hear them comment on the radio that the sale of the Los Angeles Clippers went through for $2 billion, so that Donald Sterling has now been officially eliminated from the NBA because of his crude and insensitive racist remarks that everybody that heard them felt them offensive, and they felt that it was actionable enough to force him to lose his ownership in the team. And that got me thinking about a couple of things. I've always taken the commissioners of all the major sports organizations to task, and one of my favorite whipping boys is Roger Goodell. And I'm just thinking about the NFL here, and I'm like, boy, I'll tell you what, he's really making a real name for the NFL, and it's getting a lot of negative publicity, and I think it's going to start hurting the brand. Even though it is probably the most popular televised sport in the United States, not the world, because we know what's the most popular sport in the world. But, just a couple of things that I wanted to kind of touch on. First, they've got an owner in the NFL that, popular opinion is that they feel that they should change the name of this team because a certain group of Native Americans feel that it's offensive to them. And they feel it's racist, but Roger Goodell doesn't seem to, feel the need to view it that way. Then you've got, another one of my favorite buffoons from the NFL, Jerry Jones. Here's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys who's got pictures published of him from, they were 5 years ago, without any pants on, carousing around with a couple of prostitutes, and this is the kind of image that you want to see out of ownership of an NFL franchise because, they are America's team. Then I think about, the Indianapolis Colts. We can't forget about Jim Irsay because he gets arrested with a duffel bag full of cash and tons of prescription narcotics that are not prescribed to him, and he's got an addiction problem. And, the funny thing about all of this is all of these things that are offensive to just about everybody that's seen them, and no action's taken against them. You've got the Ray Rice issue where he takes little or no action against anybody that does violence against women, and he justifies that. And then he's got the head coach of the Ravens who sits there and makes a comment to the effect that, it's no big deal. You just serve your punishment. Domestic violence is no big deal. So I'm wondering what it's going to take for Roger Goodell and the NFL to actually do something about any one of these issues. But that's what's making me scratch my head right now, Alan. That's what's on my mind.
I'm with you on that. We'll revisit some of that. It may be a long revisitation with the points you brought up, because I was thinking some of the same things you were. And Smoking Jim's now in the building, and we're not going to go to commercial. I'll just go into what I was going to talk about, but I got to strike out about three of the things. I'm glad we all watch sports. There's no doubt. So what I wanted to also announce here is, since we are out of Bethel Park, when we're talking about sports, we got high school football, we got swimming, we got track and field. You guys are more than welcome to either call in 412-831-3304, or you can contact me, at 412-973-9611. If you want to advertise anything with your fundraising and anything else in the community here, we do it for other people. Why not do it for, our hometown? So that's part of what's on my mind. And of course, with the sports, I'll lightly touch on beating Verlander because we're going to talk about Buccos later. That's one of my favorite pitchers because of the shape he's in and how he pitches.
Yes, sir.
So I'll just touch on that lightly. And then maybe Smoking Jim will talk about the Steelers. Now, with preseason, I don't worry too much about the games, but I do worry about the players competing for positions. So I'm not going to get into depth on that.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear what he has to say.
Now, I want to get his little spin on it because he was very active in the boxing that day, and he also was at MMA. We don't know how long he was at MMA. But
I saw photographs.
Well, I did too, but
he was spotted. Batman was spotted. Once the lights went out there.
That's one of our savviest members on the team. You know, he's a Golden Quill winner and everything else. So he is savvy there,
So
right? And you know, he is known as Batman. So it's quite the combination. But that's what's on my mind, and I'm trying to wait for him to come in. I don't know if he's in there yet. John the Tiger Kiger, you're not only on the camera doing a great job, but you're actually a doorman tonight. So
I'm telling you what,
if he gets close,
the many hats we make him wear.
I know. He even does some tumbles and some rolls. He might be the most acrobatic cameraman that we have. And we want to thank Devin Shea and Jim. I forget his last name. He's helping us to direct and produce this show and is doing a great job. And he was telling us before the show that he said we had one of our best shows last week with the call-in of Sammy Vasquez. And we'll talk boxing in a separate segment also. So,
see, like how I admitted that from my opening act? Cause
I understand, but you did mention about boxing in your Steel Nation boxing. So you lightly touched on it because I'm proud of you also, too. We'll get that in the revisitation unless you want to start revisiting right now because we may have an entrance of...
in the house.
Oh!
Come on in, Smoking Jim. We're right at you,
Every
buddy.
Tuesday, you got to come to the same place. That's a real brother move. Look, you left Chip
Don't
hanging.
leave him hanging
there.
You left Chip hanging.
Come on, my man.
Now, this is live TV. I know you've heard me mention it a couple hundred times. I may even mention Babe Ruth. How about this past week? Babe Ruth hit his 500th home run 70-some years ago. And this guy in second place only had 237 home runs. Can you imagine somebody?
You stole some of my thunder.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
If we're going to do that too, then let's give a shout out to Derek Jeter for passing Honus Wagner on the all-time.
See, he's
not
on my trivia this week, you guys. You're killing me.
Well, you know, I told you when it was useless trivia that I'm a trivia man. So you got to pay the price.
I always throw in your Babe Ruth
I
for
know.
you.
Well, you can just co-sign it. That it's amazing when a guy can train on beer
and hot dogs,
women, and whiskey, and have almost double the home runs of the guy in second place.
He was the
That's amazing.
He's the first member of the 500 Club.
Exactly. You're exactly right there. So, and Harmon Killebrew was the 10th member who just 70 or 50 some years ago this week. He just got his 500. So we covered a couple 500 type guys.
Now, before we continue this revisitation, why don't we...
no, we're going to start the new one. This is just me rambling.
Okay. No, I'm talking about... Let's hear
we're
what...
getting him.
Jim Fraser. Let's hear what's on his mind before we go on to this.
Smoking Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine.
What's on your mind?
Wait, we got like 12 All-Pros on this thing?
Hold it, wait a second.
With all the green.
Whoa, I'll give you here. I have a new pen for you. I got this from Newark.
You got to see Levine.
But hold it.
On
Speaking of pens, since there's a young puppy that just got his golden quill, I don't want him to pass you. I have 4 Bic pens just for you. Because I thought you fell.
This is for me?
I don't make that stuff up.
Yeah,
I took one out for me.
There's one missing?
Well, I took one out for me. I wanted to make him paranoid. I didn't say 5 for you. You taught me certain moves to make. I don't want to say it on air.
Hey, here's how you get the 5.
There you go.
Yeah, we slide it in.
But they're for you to keep
Nowadays,
writing.
you could just type up the article.
No, we're not going there. Please don't go there. Smoking Jim, what is on your mind?
Oh, thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
you got it.
You got to see Levine. I'm going to be real quick, but I do want to go on record as saying, in my opinion, expert opinion, is that if Lightning Rod Salka fought Danny Garcia again and he fought him his way, he would beat him. All he got to do is box. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. Almost reminded me of Sugar Ray Leonard the first time he fought Duran. He fought Duran's fight, but he says, next time I want Duran again and I'm going to get him my way. If Lightning Rod Salka fought him his way, because Lightning Rod Salka fights like a black fighter, and a brother in Lightning Rod Salka would beat Danny Garcia. Most people don't know, but I know Lightning Rod Salka and Danny Garcia, they ain't the first time tussling. I seen them fight as amateurs.
I can't wait till we visit that.
They fought 3 times as an amateur, and they split Rod won one, Danny Garcia won the other, and I'll keep you in suspense of who won the third. But what's on my mind?
The question that was asked, what's on your mind?
One of the happiest days of my life was Steeler draft 2014, was it? When they drafted Shazier from Ryan Shazier, because I thought this was the end of Jarvis Too Slow Jones at outside linebacker. And to my demise and upset when I heard they was moving him inside, because I predicted he would be often injured inside, and I believe he's already ruled out of the Buffalo game. So with a knee injury, a knee boo-boo. But after that, I immediately went through my draft report to find somebody to replace Jarvis Too Slow Jones. So in the late rounds, I was pushing the Pittsburgh Steelers to draft a kid that they didn't. But they did bring him in as a free agent, and his name is Hojo, they call him, but his real name is Howard Jones from Tiny Shepherd College. And just happened to read in the paper here, let's see, rookie linebacker displays big play capability. Howard Jones, many probably never heard of this guy. Looked great, recovered a couple of fumbles, and scored the Pittsburgh Steelers' only touchdown when he returned 128 yards for a touchdown. Undrafted rookie linebacker from Tiny Shepherd College. That's your replacement for Jarvis Too Slow Jones.
He's a Jones as well.
I told the Pittsburgh
One
Steelers.
Jones for another.
In my draft report, I told the Pittsburgh Steelers, this Jones, he can't keep up with this Jones because he's too quick. But I told the Pittsburgh Steelers, this kid, and Chip will like this, reminds me of Mike Merriweather and the kid from University of Pittsburgh back in the day, Hugh Green. That's who he reminds me of.
Hey, and listen, folks.
Hojo!
Hey, if you go, wait till after the show, but go watch Rocky IV. Apollo could have beat the Russian, you know. Smoking Jim's not getting it. Apollo could have beat the Russian. Apollo died, and Rocky had to go to Russia and avenge that. But that's neither here nor there. Wink, wink. But, you know, Rod's my guy. And Rod's my guy. But in all honesty, all things being equal and fair, we could do that all over again, and the outcome is probably going to, the timing is just going to change, but the outcome's still going to be the same. I'm not afraid of anybody, but I mean, one has to understand that, on this planet that you have limitations in your talent and your power at certain things, and when you give in to and you gave them the advantage that they were looking for as far as the weight goes, and not having to really cut down and drain Garcia, you basically just put a shark in a little tank, with a bunch of people in it, like what did you think was going to happen? I mean, this is Danny Garcia. He's the number 12.
You know what I like? The Sandbox boys are split up.
He's the number 12 rated pound for pound fighter in the world. And there's billions of people on this planet. He's the number 12 guy on the planet, pound for pound. So that speaks volumes for what's going out of Philly. And I hate Philadelphia, but you can't knock Danny Garcia. And the kid has unbelievable clubber-laying-like power for his weight class. So
you didn't see my pound for pound list.
Hey, I'd want to change it up before we revisit, since you guys are battling. But I want to quash the rumors that Smoking Jim does not read anything. I want to quash that rumor right now. He actually was reading an article, and he did pretty well on it. So that disproves that he doesn't read. He just doesn't read books. I mean, he can read newspaper articles, and that book that he got yesterday, I don't think that'll ever see the light of day again, unless sunlight's sneaking into his room.
What? One night Smoking Jim might break down and might need to make fire, and he can pull that book out.
It'll save his life.
And it'll save his life. So if I give him anything, man, I give him all the tools that he needs to survive on Mother Earth.
Well, we need some revisitations, but I got distracted with Smoking Jim throwing out all that fiction and fact, because now I can't decipher what is fiction and what is fact. And the only question I have on his thing, Rod is a good friend of ours, and he's a champion in my mind. Anybody that would go into the ring like that, I've said it publicly yesterday. I've said it on Facebook. Most of these people that hate him, he didn't make that fight. It was the matchmakers. Why would he not agree to 6 figures? Now, Smoking Jim saying he could fight his way and do that, man, I'd love to see that fight. I wish that would come on. But did you watch the fight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I cried.
Okay, well then
I'm
not going to ask you any more questions.
Live. When we first met Rod, when I first met Rod a few years back, he and Sammy Vasquez, they both said that they would fight anybody, anywhere, anytime, and that just goes to speak,
Well, that's Pittsburgh fighters here, and I give him all the credit in the world.
He didn't duck any challenges.
Hey.
No.
Sammy Vasquez is right in that weight bubble. So, hey, buddy,
let's save some of
that
for
boxing.
Garcia, we'll get it.
You go fight Garcia, and I'll come out and watch you, too.
Right. Well, some of this we'll revisit on the Clippers also.
That'll be you can crime.
You're coining
He's
more.
Puerto
Let me
Rican,
write this
Garcia.
down.
Garcia's Puerto Rican.
He's Philadelphian now.
Yeah, well, he's of Puerto Rican
Just
descent.
like we'll get into boxing in a few minutes. What I think is great about our country is you can be a racist, you can call people names, be ignorant about it, deny stuff, sue, and if you have the money, you usually get out of it. And this time, we have a guy that thought he was above the law, and his team got sold. Now, that's a good thing. You finally have a commissioner stepping up, because people shouldn't be that way. Not in our enlightened society like it is. But here's the problem I have. He's a billionaire. He got $2 billion from another billionaire. So, I mean, it's so out of our league, no pun intended, that it's not reality.
The problem with this whole thing with, the owners...
the Sterling debacle.
Yeah, the Sterling debacle is the fact of the matter was this guy never changed from day one when he bought that franchise.
That's what I'm saying.
$18,000.
He got away with it for
So the previous commissioner of the NBA, who turned it into a global game, just turned a deaf ear to it, and everybody was okay with it until finally somebody took a stand.
Silver
and said,
I.O. Silver took a stand.
You know what? This is enough. But he's been consistent for the entire time that he's owned that franchise.
True. And he's also won awards. From the NCAA,
NAACP took mad money.
They
took big money.
They were getting.
Are they going to give it back?
Give him a Man of the Year award.
Are they going to give it back, folks? They're not going to give it back.
Second lifetime.
And we're going to put this to rest. But I'm a conspiracy guy. They only had the tape come out a week before he was supposed to get another award.
Yeah. Second lifetime talking about. Second lifetime achievement.
That's hard to do.
How does that happen in America?
I'd love that.
No,
that's what I want to
like Don King always said, only in America.
I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite. Speaking about America, Tony Stewart. He just come back from a severe double fracture, compression, broken leg. Just come back in his first race and does these go-kart race-like things because he owns a track. He supports that type of racing. Friends have been trying to talk him out of it for years. He's invested in it. He believes in it. He loves doing that. It's like when you want to love boxing and start knocking people out, and if you get knocked out, we're going to say, what are you doing there? You're going to hurt our show. You can't be a Golden Quill award-winning writer anymore. Same type of thing. He's passionate about it. He's invested in it fully. He supports it. And he can't help it that somebody got mad and walked out on the track.
Is that what happened? The guy got out of his car.
He got out of his car, a 20-year-old guy.
Trying to pick a fight, and while cars are spinning around the track.
He almost got hit right before that.
Who hit him?
Tony Stewart
did, and he killed him.
And he didn't race the next night. So.
And actually, he's not going to be. He won. Well, he's not going to be racing this week either in Michigan.
But the thing of it is that he qualified the car, and one of the motivating reasons for wanting to race is he who qualifies the car must race the car on Sunday for the points to count for that race. So by him qualifying the car and not racing in the race, basically the number 14 just went around the track and finished 35th, with no points, and didn't get any points for that race. So, and he needs to win a race in the next 5 to make himself eligible for the chase.
He's not racing this week in Michigan either.
Well, now he got 4 races left to make it to the chase.
Well, even think about it. If you
killed somebody, Jim. I mean, there's,
But he wanted to race.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't know. You've been in an accident. Just recently, you were in an accident. What if that poor guy that dropped all the pills and other things on the ground had killed you?
What about when you
think about how he would feel?
And you hit somebody and they died. How would you react to that?
I would play.
You're a cold, hard man.
What can I do? I'm not going to do the show because Robin Williams is no longer here.
Who?
One of my favorite actors. One of my favorite actors.
Name one movie he was in.
Good Will Hunting, one of my favorites.
I asked Jim Frazier.
I thought you were talking to me.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah! Because he dressed up like a lady.
Book of the year.
I mean, we could go Jumanji. We could go Hook.
Aladdin.
You know.
Don't he do impressions?
But
they do good impressions.
Wrap up the revisitation.
We almost revisit, unless Smoking Jim wants to revisit anything, since he come late to the party. Yeah. Okay. No revisitation. All right. We'll go to Sip Sports Bar. We had a nice show there. A lot of great people there. We started out with Little Z. He was our first guest.
Fire. That was the best ever. That was the best ever.
For all of you that haven't watched it, and any of you that have, watch it again. He's wearing a suit. Zach Brenner had an expensive suit on there. He was styling there. Can't beat it.
Levine got the same tailor.
Yeah. Can't beat it.
Can't beat it.
Lives in Monroeville.
No, he was in Squirrel Hill.
Yeah. No problem.
Similar name to Levine.
Levine, I thought it was.
Hey, we got late breaking news here, folks, live on Pittsburgh Sportsline. Johnny Bones Jones, has injured his leg in training and will not fight in his upcoming UFC fight.
Wow.
He is out for that fight, folks. That fight will be rescheduled for January 3rd. That's UFC 178. Bones Jones is out with a leg injury.
Wow. And getting back to the Sip Sports Bar segment. Some people had the best meatball hoagies ever. And then we want to thank Bob Cresson. He actually come up with a Pittsburgh Sportsline sign, and somehow he put Al Levine, the talking machine, on it for the golf outing, and it's still on there. It didn't wash off.
I don't know if you noticed, at the beginning of the intro for Monday's show, it says Al Levine's Pittsburgh Sportsline.
That's been on for a while. I think you missed that for about 4 months.
I just started paying attention because of that banner.
Well, you know what that's getting? Because we're getting a lot more hits on that now just because the guys recognizing that stuff. Thanks. They recognize hard work. But thanks to Bob, Empire Investigations, for getting us a sign. But the reason I'm thanking him is for Smoking Jim Frazier and Charlie Goddard with his reality show and all the personalities he brings. They got a meatball hoagie. Now, it was supposedly for me and Smoking Jim. Somehow Smoking Jim got half of it. And then Charlie Goddard started eating half of it. So I missed out on that. But
those wings were delicious.
Well, I had one, and that was the one that fell on the floor with all the sauces and stuff that Ed Foster, he's known as Uncle Fester. So they'll be back again next week. You have to check that out. So we have a lot of things going there. Special hello to Don Campiti. I wanted to show him an old winner's circle photo. I don't know if you can pull up on this, but there's a horse in there. Get off of me. Just try to pull away. There you go.
That's nice.
Pull on there. You can see that winner's circle. And anybody that knows me or doesn't know me, Zach Brenner said they could pick me out of the crowd. And that's a little horse back in 1985 named Hancock Creed. So to prove to anybody that thinks we just had horses that went to the glue factory, wink, wink, Chip, there's one of the winners. He only won 23 races over 2 years. And if you look at the driver on there, that's young Dave Pallone, about his 3rd year in racing. And I saw him after Madness at the Meadows. He was in the VIP area where we were at, Jim, and we were waiting for you to come back since you walked past. They all said Smoking Jim will come back to that area. I wanted to introduce you to Dave Pallone. So, and that's part of our SIPs. So Don Campiti, you may have bet on that Hancock Creed way back in the 80s. And a few of the other horses there, Unbounded and a couple others.
Probably not. He's more of a Herbie Hancock.
I don't think so. Don Campiti. You don't know him. He's out there at the track. Mrs. Campiti, ignore that. But check out Sips. Come on out there for their wings every Thursday night. And they have a lot of entertainment on the weekends. Come to our show next Monday. We'll see you all there. Nah, we got the Sandbox boys critiquing the photos. Give me that back. Look at how they
You got a world-class Fu Manchu.
Well, it wasn't always white like this. It wasn't always white like this, my friends. I've been around for a couple years.
Hey, man, that green tea and that coconut oil, man. Holy smokes.
Zach Brenner, we were on a long trip, and I just happened to glance up. His brother, the mayor, he's driving the car. I'm squeezing the back of this luxurious extended cab truck. Great seats, little tight quarters. Zach's sitting there. He's 30 years old. His brother's 28. I go, hey, do you guys know that you add up to my age? They're like, go back to sleep. And that's
Are you serious?
Yeah, I can't make this stuff up.
I never thought of that.
They gave him another bottle of Geritol.
It didn't work. I said, do you want any more green tea? We've only gone to Maryland.
Oh, he's like a machine gun, man. He's like a Gatling gun, folks. He don't stop, man. He just keeps going and going and going. So
15 hours in a truck, round trip.
Wow.
And, hey, that's enough of that, our travels. How about we go with Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. Just one more thing, though, we got to say is, wow, we had a lot of great guests over the years. But I tell you what.
You can stay on the Sips part one more minute.
Did Sindel turn it out last night or what? She was absolutely fabulous, stuck around and took pictures with all her fans.
And her new fans.
And her new fans.
And her old best friend.
And she even corrected me. She's an international model, not just.
That was one of the highlights of the Sips Sports Bar for me, for the simple fact you're always out promoting everybody. And I out promoted you on Bill Boyce. He's an outer space photographer, too. He's out of this world.
He's taking pictures of planes.
But when Sindel goes to you real serious, I'm an international model, I thought you were done for the night. You know that? You come back strong.
Yeah, she was strong.
And it was great. She'll be back again, she said.
And then she, came to you and said, you've been a fan of hers for a long time. So
she's like you. She has some Smoking Jim Frazier promotion.
She does. I mean, I love her style, man.
I love her too.
Speaking of Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac, we gave you the facts. Could you please give us the fiction?
Well, I sure will. I'm going all the way back to 2010, and that was a very frustrating draft for me. That was the beginning of the Steelers not wanting to be great, just wanting to be 8-8, and just wanted to go over some of the guys that we had to filter through. They take so much credit because the only Pro Bowler on the team last year was Antonio Brown, my draft pick. And the Steelers take so much pride in that, even though he beat up a defensive back today, Shaquille. They got to fight today at practice, so he still can throw them hands. But I just wanted to show you what the Steelers did and all the bums that they went through before finally being convinced by me to draft Antonio Brown. And the words out of their mouth is, we're just drafting him to shut you up because we're going to cut him.
Keep doing what you're doing?
Keep doing what I'm doing. And food was good. Brothers can cook.
Steak.
But that draft started off with Santonio Holmes getting booted out of here for waking and baking. And the Steelers brought in over the hill Antoine Randall to replace him. And as Arnaz Battles, who really never did anything in this league.
He was washed up before he even
He had a great college career at the University of Notre Dame.
Yeah. He did nothing for the San Francisco 49ers.
Sure, did nothing. And the Steelers did great in the first round. They brought in Marquise Pouncey, and him and his brother are still getting in trouble, but Marquise is great. Jason Worrells they brought in the second round, even though they still had James Harrison and Lamar Woodley at outside linebackers. Looked like they would still be here. In the third round, they reached for a receiver in Emmanuel Sanders, who really ticked me off. And they still had Hines Ward, Mike Wallace, Antoine Randall, Arnaz Battle, and Lyman Swede. And the Steelers thought they were set at receivers then when I was pushing for Antonio Brown. But here's where it really started falling off. They got Thaddeus Gibson, and on my notes I had tall, weak bum from Ohio State as an outside linebacker. Then in the 5th round, they couldn't resist themselves by taking overweight, double-chin Chris Scott, offensive tackle bum from Tennessee. Then in the 5th round, they took Butler from Clemson, a cornerback. None of these guys are still on the team, by the way. And they had 3 5th-round picks. They took Butler from Clemson. Then they took, Scott from Tennessee. Then they took Stevenson Sylvester from Utah, linebacker. He's still on the team, hasn't done anything.
Good friend of mine.
6th round, I wanted LeGarrette. 6th round, I wanted LeGarrette Blunt, and the Steelers took Jonathan Dwyer.
We got him back.
Yeah, we got him back. Both of them are pretty good running backs. And finally, just to shut me up, they took Antonio Brown from Central Michigan, and then they couldn't resist themselves again by going to Ohio State for another bum, Doug Worthington, defensive lineman. I think they cut him in pregame warmups. But that's the fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. It's amazing how Antonio Brown was almost not on his football team.
And for the record, folks, it's amazing how at the Bethel Park Police Pals versus Pittsburgh Steelers, the same gentleman wasn't humble enough to grant me and Devin Shea an interview. So thanks, champ number 84. Wink, wink.
If you'd have showed him your NAACP card, you'd have gave him.
I was showing him my black card, and he still wasn't having it.
You got to be dark as Levine to get an interview with Antonio.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go to Chip's trivia time.
Thank you, Alan. Once again, I'm going to enlighten us all with some nice baseball trivia.
Sorry to knock out a couple here.
Knock out a couple, but we'll still touch on them. August 8th of 1920, that date struck me, and I forgot to write down the pitcher's name, but the fastest pitched game in American League history was pitched that day. It was a 1-0 ball game. The game lasted 1 hour and 13 minutes.
Wow!
And I bring that up because one of the things that I was at 5 baseball games this past week, and 3 of them actually were under 3 hours. Believe it or not, last night was close to pushing 4, and but I mean, this is what happens, and this is a fault of the umpires because there are rules in place to speed up the game. The umpires don't enforce it, so they're creating a problem of their own. August 8th, 1992, Dennis Eckersley had his saves record stopped at 40. He had 40 consecutive saves without blowing one. Wow. He had 36 to start that season and 4 carried over from the previous season. That's a pretty amazing record. August 8th, 1998, another Hall of Famer here, Paul Molitor, stole his 500th base. He became on that day the 5th player in Major League history to steal 500 bases and to get 3,000 hits.
It's amazing.
The other 4 players who have accomplished this feat were Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Eddie Collins, and Lou Brock. So tip of your hat to Paul Molitor. I thought he was one of the greatest hitters of his era.
I would have loved to interview Ty Cobb.
No, you wouldn't have.
We almost did that.
No, you wouldn't have.
I read him.
He wouldn't have acknowledged it.
Jim, he was a card-carrying member.
He was an original.
Okay. August the 6th, 1952. Satchel
He was
Paige.
an original Sterling.
Satchel Paige
Go to close-up on Chip. The sandbox is overflowing there.
Oldest pitcher to pitch a complete game shutout. He did it at 46 years of age. Well, he said he was 46 years old. Nobody ever knew.
He was much older.
No, nobody ever knew. But Satchel Paige pitched well into his
60s.
waning years. One of my
heroes.
One of my favorite ball players of all time, Hammerin' Hank Aaron. On August the 6th, 1972, he hit his 660th and 661st home runs. The thing that's significant about that is those are the most home runs hit by one man playing on one team ever in Major League history.
Wow.
So that's a pretty significant record for him to hold.
And
number 2 on the list.
He passed Willie Mays on
that. Buddy. Number 1. I don't know what list you're looking at.
Well, he's looking at the legal list.
What about this list? Since the Barry Bonds has got an asterisk for steroids or whatever, he will never go into the Hall of Fame. So therefore, it's going to be Hammer and Hank, who's in the Hall of Fame with the home runs thing. So we could argue this all day, but Barry Bonds is never going with Pete Rose.
And I'm just a stubborn knucklehead, so you just have to.
I'm just applying some logic to it. That Barry Bonds is never going to get.
I have very little to do with logic.
I was just going to tell you, throw the logic out here. Barry Bonds is still the champ because they let him in.
I've never let facts get in the way of any of my arguments. Okay. August the 6th, 1999. May he rest in peace. Tony Gwynn went 4 for 5, and he was the 22nd major leaguer in history to get his 3,000th hit. He just passed away not very long ago. August 11th, 1951, a significant date in baseball history, and I'm guessing maybe Al might know when I refresh his memory about the significance of this. The New York Giants were 13 and a half games out of first place. They were 13 and a half games behind the Brooklyn Dodgers. And the Giants won the pennant on the last day of the season, and that was the biggest deficit that was ever overcome. Yeah. And Bobby Thompson hit the shot heard around the world for the Giants to win the pennant. So it was at this date that the Giants had fallen the furthest behind the Dodgers, yet they still won the pennant. Also, Babe Ruth became the first member of the 500 Club. He became the first member of the 300 Club, the 400 Club, the 500 Club, the 600 and 700 Club. So, he hit his 30th home run of the season on August 11th, 1929. Warren Spahn on August 11th, 1961 became a 300-game winner.
I didn't mention that, if you notice. I did know that because I was a pitcher.
Do you remember the book, Ball 4? Who wrote that?
I just have it. Jim Bouton.
Was that Bouton or is it Jim Bunning?
No, Bouton.
Bouton, okay. Well, on 8/11/1970, Jim Bunning became the first pitcher in Major League history to win 100 games in the American League, 100 games in the National League.
Wow.
Yeah. And also on August the 12th, was the last day baseball was played in the strike season in 1994. And this is a strike that canceled the entire baseball season and the World Series. And the two teams that suffered the most for this, the two best teams in baseball that year, were the Montreal Expos and the Cleveland Indians. And I believe they would have played each other in the World Series that year.
It looked like it.
Also, Zach mentioned Derek Jeter passed Honus Wagner for number 6 on the list for most hits in baseball history. And 40 years ago today, Nolan Ryan struck out 19 batters in the game. And the thing that's significant about this, that time that was an American League record, which has been surpassed by, I believe, Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens. But the significant thing about that was that was one of 3 times that season that he struck out 19 in a game. Pretty amazing feat.
Wow.
That's what I got for you this week, guys.
Man, that was excellent, Chip. Great job. Great work.
Oakland Athletics was Dennis Eckersley, so.
Yeah, nice relief pitcher.
I like the Bash brothers.
Of course.
The Juice Brothers.
The Juice Brothers. McGuire was juicing. The Giambis were juicing.
That was creatine.
Everybody was juicing.
It was all creatine.
Tony.
All right, let's go to Z-Time since he's wandering into that already.
Well,
what's up, Z-Time?
In Z-Time, I just want to give a shout out to Rory McIlroy on a fantastic golf tournament as it got dark. And as Rory McIlroy's career picks off, the same darkness has surrounded Tiger Woods. And hopefully, to Tiger's benefit, he just stays away for a little bit and finds himself some new girls and regroups and comes back stronger than ever, champ. I believe in you. I know you'll be back.
He has never been the same since his wife took a 9-iron upside his head.
And I don't know too many at this panel who would be the same if their wives hit them in the head with a 9-iron.
Well, I think more significant is that his shirt size has decreased and his injuries have increased. Not that I'm a conspirator. Yes, I am. But I think there's some issues.
You think he was in that Balco?
Oh, without a doubt. If you're getting almost $1 billion in advertising and for some reason your chest is like a barrel and your arms are like this and now his shirt's almost like my shirt.
Have you seen LeBron James recently?
Yeah, he's cutting out the carbs. There's nothing illegal about that. It's all carbs.
You know what, though? And just a quick footnote on Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods has won 14 major tournaments, and I've been on record for the last 3 years of saying he's never going to win another one. But the best golfer of all time was Jack Nicklaus. He won 18 major tournaments, but more significant than that, he came in second place in 19 other majors. That's something that nobody will ever touch. You think about that for a minute. He won 18 of them in 19 other tournaments and came in second place.
Hence the name, the Golden Bear.
Well, this is something that...
and we're getting in a little golf stuff.
Yeah, this is something that may never be...
He was there last night.
He's proud right now. He's proud.
Yeah, here's a great record that you guys failed to mention is who has the most tournament wins of any golfer
Sam
ever.
Snead.
I thought Tiger had it. Is he second?
Whoa!
I think Sam Snead was one of the most prolific golfers. Chip might know some of that. Sam Snead was winning tournaments all over. Wow. Not the major ones, but I think he won over 70 of them or something.
Well, Tiger, I think, got 85
Tiger
wins.
may have gotten
Did he pass him?
Yeah, he passed.
But by Tiger's own words, the only tournaments that matter are the majors.
Yeah. Well, I may stand corrected, Smoking Jim, but I remember.
But
I didn't watch the modern era.
In Tiger's defense, though, can you, when Tiger was in his run, in his prime, could you think of a more exciting reason to watch golf? I mean, I certainly can't for the same.
I couldn't think of none then.
For the same reason, during the steroid era in baseball, when all these people started turning in to watch McGuire, Sosa, and Bonds,
and other guys.
Zach, there's no question. He actually was responsible for the rise in golf's popularity, and that's why so many children got into the game, and then probably the reason why we've got so many good young golfers in the United States right now, and
that's part of the world actually,
and that's part of his legacy, you know.
It is Sam Snead, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Snead has 82 PGA Tour wins. Tiger Woods has 79. The Golden Bear has 73. Ben Hogan has 64, and our own Latrobe Arnold Palmer has 62.
That ain't up to Tiger got. He got.
Yes.
Sam Snead. No. Tiger second. Yeah. That's updated.
Yeah, it's updated.
And there you have it, folks. They tried to diss Levine, and he got the win.
Yeah, that's right.
He got the W. Still champion.
So you know what? With age comes wisdom over on this side.
That's it.
Sam Snead against the field.
He was unbelievable, like I said. Well, we do have some boxing and MMA. Chip, can you give us a little brief, like a couple minutes about Buckos here?
Okay, sure. I can give you a brief rundown.
Since you saw all those games.
Well, and I watched Justin Verlander get his head handed to him last night. And, he's pitched very, very well against the Pirates historically. He's 4-0 against them with a 1.97 ERA. And, his Pirates started off by, Ike Davis making a mistake, giving them a run, and they came back strong, and they knocked him out. But here's the thing that I think is most amazing about what the Pirates are doing right now. You look at the lineup that they have fielded since Andrew McCutchen got hurt. And, I mean, it's a cast of characters nobody's ever heard of. And all they keep on doing is winning. They have no business being in where they're at right now. They're in second place in the division, 2.5 games out. Right now, they hold the first wild card position. So if the season were to end right now, St. Louis would be coming here to play us in a one-game playoff. That's a pretty amazing statistic because you think about this. The Pirates have 4 of their stars, all number 1 draft picks, Neil Walker, Pedro Alvarez, Andrew McCutchen, Garrett Cole. Not a single one of them are playing an inning of baseball.
Yeah, you're right. They have no business being where they're at.
But they are, okay? Because you know what? People complain because they didn't spend money that they don't make any trades.
You don't need to spend money.
But here's what the deal is: they've got a good baseball team, and they're playing really good ball. And you know what? At the end of the year, wins and losses tell the tale.
Good points.
Well, we know what Jim Frazier's after.
Well, he's a baseball guy. Wait a second. He's now a baseball guy, and he's quiet now because he's contemplating what Chip was talking about. We'll go to Steelers now.
Well, if I might say so myself, Jim Frazier was talking smack on the defensive end that we drafted from Notre Dame.
We're at Steelers.
And right now he is projected to be a starter. So how do you feel about that? I mean, you said he was too slow like Jarvis Jones, but this man...
Well, that's not exactly what I said. What I said was he had a pin in his foot at Notre Dame, a fracture and I don't think that'll ever get better. And if he doesn't start, shame on him. They just got rid of Ziggy Hood as starter. They just got rid of the Beard. Kiesel's not in. And if Kiesel comes back tomorrow, then Tuitt will be watching from the bench. But they say he's doing real good in training camp. So let's see. But
did you see any of the game? Because I know you watch a little film.
So to ask your opinion, being the expert on football, what kind of a difference do you think that having Joey Porter coaching the linebackers is going to have on the linebacking core this year?
Zero, because the coach is Keith Butler, and the system is the system. Joey Porter was a freak of nature. He could have played in the movie The Water Boy. He was that type of linebacker. Him and LeVar Arrington was a freaks. So I always say that a lot of times a freak can't teach somebody to be a freak, because Joey Porter could run a 4.3 40, he could jump. He was a starting wide receiver at Colorado State before they moved him on the other side of the ball. He grew up in Compton, I believe.
He couldn't dodge bullets.
Yeah, got shot in the butt in Denver.
And recovered.
Last 8 games the Steelers played, they were 6-2, and I do believe that Ben was only sacked 7 times in the last 8 games last year. What kind of an impact do you think that Mike Munchak's going to have on the continuity of the offensive line, and do you think he's going to be a better asset? Do you think we'll get better play out of him?
Well, if he was a professor, he could teach the course on offensive line, but you got to have material.
Correct.
And they don't have enough material on the offensive line for them to achieve the levels that he wants. But I think the Steelers went 6-2 last year, despite the offensive coordinator. That's when Ben started going to the no-huddle and calling his own play. So I think they'll be equally successful. But when the defense is giving up a 73-yard touchdown run to a guy that couldn't outrun the A train.
And I hate to bring up the point about your draft pick. Somehow most champions will run down the sideline without stepping on the white line. And Antonio Brown, didn't he step on the white line?
That's a lack of concentration.
7-1,
all the way,
in spite of all that.
All the way to Hawaii.
In spite of, think about it. In spite of all we're talking about, defense, offense, we go to the playoffs.
One thing I found interesting over the offseason is that Shamarko Thomas got with Troy, went out and trained with Troy, stayed in
part of a champion.
Because he told Troy he wanted to be great. So he went out and trained with him, and then the first week of training camp, he blew up one of your favorite offensive lineman, Mike Adams.
Hey, but listen, it will help the offensive line if our fellow linemen don't injure our top linemen. So that'll be something to watch. If we don't injure ourselves and shoot ourselves in the foot.
Well, Castro always wanted to be a center. That was his only opportunity.
No, he was colorblind, you said. You said he was colorblind
but I thought that was quite funny that Mike Adams got blown up the first time he got in a live contact. Little Shamarko Thomas blasted him.
It followed the theme. He got blown up.
He got blown up in the south side.
They told him, they said, hit the softest thing on the field.
Did you see Did you see Bruce Gradkowski running for his life in the second quarter?
That's what they
second
did.
team.
Oh my God! You know what? That may be.
We missed it. We were at a fight.
I was watching on tape.
Here's the thing. You look at what our options are. Ben better play all 16 games this year because our options for backup. We're really thin, and if you think that Landry Jones might be our best option as a backup quarterback, Bruce Gradkowski did not look good on Saturday night.
Chuck is still around.
He really had no help,
Chuck is still around. I just seen him today.
Maybe that's why Cincinnati paid $115 million for Dalton, because there's no other options out there.
All right, let's get to some boxing here. We'll see what happens. Again, this is preseason. If we don't care about the wins as a Steeler team, why do we worry about that stuff? It's the players and what position they're going to get. So depending on the linemen in there, I would have liked to seen the linemen. Were they the same ones that were blocking earlier in the game? Just as one question with what happened with the backups, no matter who they are. Are they the same linemen that are playing in the first, second quarter?
Yeah, but they're also playing against the second and third stringers of the Giants. They're not playing against the
but look at the quality that we talk about our regular offensive line. Unless they're blocking and tackling like I see them do, they're no good. And they stopped doing that last year until the last 8 games. But we'll see what happens. I'm still saying 11-5.
8-8 for me.
10-6.
I'm sticking at 10-6.
Okay.
Oh,
I was right. I was all on with Jim last year at 8-8, but I just think that Ben's got a little bit more weapons in the wide receiver core. I'm interested to see what they can do here.
Real quick, before we bounce out of this segment, could you tell us a little bit about Trey Archer's debut for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, I don't know his name. I mean, they call him Dry and Dre and Drew and Trey, but
how about calling him Archer? Archer!
He looked, Archer. That's it. Yeah, he looked pretty good until he got caught from behind. Yeah. Good.
Okay. There you have it.
You're never going to give anybody any credit, are you?
They're all too slow. Let's go to some boxing here since we had a huge weekend with boxing in the Berg.
Ford 240 get run down.
Maybe somebody was in front of him.
It's happening.
There was a minefield.
Maybe that second hand was sticking on that stopwatch.
Bob Hayes got caught a couple times.
I ain't never seen Bob Hayes get caught.
Watch some tape.
Except for when that police caught him when he was trying to run before he went to jail.
That was a
great.
He was
retired, didn't know.
A great event took place on Friday at the Consol Energy Center.
An historic event.
Iron Mike Promotions was in Levine's backyard where Levine grew up and put on a great boxing card on Fox Sports.
In the Hill District.
In the Hill District. Pride Street, we know where that's at, folks. It's under Mercy Hospital.
I walked him over to it.
Did you?
Yeah, I had to. That's why he changed. He's a changed man.
Say hi to the nurse.
We do. They all know Jim Frazier.
He's been to the Mecca.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that all the nurses know Jim Frazier, because to know all the nurses means that you got to be a patient in the hospital.
I got Obamacare.
Well, there you go,
as
folks.
often as I want.
Except when he left the hospital early twice, and he was like Lazarus.
I tell you what, though, that Monty Clay fight will go down as one of the fights of the year in boxing, not just in Pittsburgh boxing, but in boxing across the country. That was a great boxing match that took place on Friday night at the Consol. Sammy Vasquez put on a show once again. He was taken a little bit more to task by a more premium opponent. And then, folks,
Question, if I may interrupt. Now, when come on, Sammy's fight, that was stopped, right? That didn't go the distance.
Right.
Yeah, it was stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, about 19 seconds into the other round.
That's what I thought I heard.
It was a 10-round fight, and in the ninth,
okay,
it was stopped.
And meanwhile, there was some controversy on it. The guy really didn't defend himself. He took about 10 punches, and he wasn't really hurt at that time because these guys knocked each other out on their feet.
I saw some of the clips of it. They were both given as good as they got.
If you like boxing, it was a good boxing match.
It was a good card, and shout out to Mike Tyson and all the folks at Iron Mike Productions. But real quick, we only got about a minute left. Let's take it to the Barclays Center on Saturday night. You've heard Al Levine talk about it a bunch here. Rod Sulka has a lot of heart, took a big fight for a big payday, and took a big chance, and went in there and went toe-to-toe with the number 12th rated pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and came up short. But it wasn't in our weight class, and we're not here to make excuses, and I'm not making any excuses for Rod. But I will tell you this, folks. You stay tuned, you watch out, because we'll be back at 130, 135 pounds, and that's where we belong, and Rod will get to make a tone for that.
And he has a couple titles already. I'm sure he has defenses of them coming up and everything else, so there'll be more fights.
And you know what? And he's not ducking anybody.
No.
And we're going to wind this show down. You guys had your points all through this show. I don't know what else you want to bring up, but it's not happening. We got 25 seconds left. I'm not allowed to go over that. We've been hitting close to it each week. But I'm thankful that Pittsburgh Sportsline and all of us are involved with a lot of these great athletes and fundraising opportunities and different businesses in our area. I thank Dave Cable and Bethel Park, BPTV Studios, for letting us do all this stuff, put it out on the air for you. So stay tuned for another boxing match. Smokin' Jim did it by himself. And,
Hi, Mary.
And this, that's it for our show. Good night, everybody. It's been a